Hey, everybody, welcome to the Grow Yourself podcast. I'm your host, Kevin McNulty, and this is your personal development school of growth, where each week my guests and I will bring and break down big ideas and practices that will help you learn, grow, and succeed in life. Thanks for checking us out. Now let the growth begin. Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Grow Yourself, your personal development school of growth, where we like to deep dive into topics that help shape us and teach us and push us really to grow and be better people every single day. And today we are very fortunate to have Natalie Spellman, AKA the Greatness Activator. And we're going to ask her about that. And she has a story that, I mean, truly, it's nothing short of amazing. Natalie's been through some really tough times. Talking, I mean, if you want to talk about, hitting rock bottom and then finding her way back, that's what we're going to talk about. And it's not just surviving, by the way, it's thriving. And that's what she's done. So she's been through it all, from personal losses to losses that would break your heart, to scary moments when she thought she might not live and wondering whether there was a future for her and her daughter and her family. But let me tell you, she turned those trials into something powerful. And so today she's going to share her inspiring story with us and how she transformed her trials into triumph and her pain into purpose. And by the way, she's going to talk about how you can do the same. So get ready to be inspired, because Natalie's here to show us how we can turn our own struggles into strength and to live life, I should say, live the life we were meant to. And so won't you please welcome occupational therapist, transformational speaker, author, and wait for it, U.S. Combat Marine, Natalie Spellman. Natalie, thank you so much for being with us here on Grow Yourself.
Thank you, Kevin, so much for this opportunity. I'm so excited to be here so I can actually add value to you and your audience. So I'm so excited to be here with you today.
Well, I had really the great opportunity to at least read excerpts and from your book, and I've watched some of your interviews, and really you're a fascinating person with a lot of different really good things going on, and it seems to me that through the course of your life, you've just brought some serious skills and experience to the table where you really are transforming lives, if you will. But listen, before we get started, I just like to ask, who is Natalie Spellman? Tell our audience, who is she?
I love that question, because for a person who has lost her identity multiple times in different seasons of her life, it's amazing that Natalie Spellman is a combination of my future, my present, and my future.
I love it.
So the Natalie you're seeing right now is a person I've gone through multiple challenges that have gotten me to the point where I've hit rock bottom, to the point of depression, to the point where I've lost myself. But the beautiful thing about those experiences is that there were lessons learned so that I could bring those past experiences, those lessons from the past experiences, into my present moment to have the beautiful future, a future that's going to make a great impact, that is making an impact and actually impacting the lives of people for greatness. So who is Natalie Spellman? Natalie Spellman is a woman who is on fire. She's excited and she's here to make a difference in this world. And there's a lot more to me.
And you know something, you didn't really need to say much more because the energy just jumped right off the screen there. So, no, that's beautiful. And maybe tell us a little bit about your background, where you were brought up, and just a little bit about your life, if you will.
Yes. So I grew up in Jamaica, and I grew up in an environment where it was rural Jamaica, where I know what poverty is. I know what hardship is. But the beautiful thing about me was that I was a little girl with a dream. I never felt like I fit into my environment. There was something about me where I was always dreaming big and big and big. And I remember always writing any essays, any paper that I was ever given to, either in primary school, high school, or in college, was that I'm going to make a global impact I'm going to make an impact in my global village. I'm going to make a positive impact in my global village. And it was always in my head. It was always a vision of me doing greatness in the world from a young kid in Jamaica. So I went to high school and then I came here to America. And then one day while I was in college, I met two recruiters. The first one was from the Army. He promised me $50,000. Then I met the Marine Corps recruiter who was like, I can't give you $50,000. I cannot give you a 2-year contract. But what I can give you, I could give you intangible traits of honor, courage, and commitment. Those
Oh
traits you
my.
have will last a lifetime. And in that moment, I switched from $50,000, a 2-year contract, for a Marine Corps contract, no money,
Wow.
for intangible traits. And I'm so grateful because those intangible traits learned in the Marine Corps, those are lasting. And I'm using those strengths, those leadership techniques, those values right now in my present moment. And I'm using those skills to make an impact in my world right now.
That's
So
incredible.
yes. So right now I'm speaking, I'm coaching. I'm actually doing a lot of high performance coaching for people who feel stuck. People are so emotionally stuck to the point where they're stagnant when they're trying to move forward in different directions of their lives, in terms of finances, in terms of their relationship. So right now, based on my experiences, I'm able to help you to get unstuck and unlock your potential so you could truly shine in the greatness that you're meant to live in.
Oh my gosh. So we're going to ask you about that. I want to back up just a second. First of all, I have a couple of questions. One, it's so cool to hear a person say that I've been through a lot. Just to start off to say I was a little girl dreaming. I mean,
Oh,
that means
amazing.
a lot, to me,
Yes.
because I was a little boy that dreamed a lot as well. As a matter of fact, it was kind of my blessing and my curse, because instead of like, wanting to be outside working where my father expected us to be, I'm dreaming, I'm climbing trees and looking around and so
Yes.
forth.
Oh
But
my
here,
goodness.
but here's the thing, Natalie, how, you know, I find people sometimes, really experts at what they do, but they can't really look back and bring forward the lessons that they learned from their life. So they're
Mm,
really good at what they do, but they're not teachers. Let's just put it that way.
mm.
What, can you think of what kind of a process what you were going through, or how you were able to bring these things into the present so they now become tools and inspiration and that for other people?
All right. I want to answer your question, and it's powerful what I'm going to say next. But I want to touch on something you mentioned before. As a kid, I'm laughing because when other kids were out playing, I was always in a tree somewhere with a book reading.
I love it.
At nighttime, I was under the bed with a flashlight
Oh my
reading.
goodness. Oh, I love it.
So I was always in my own world. And it's no surprise that I'm not an author because it was always
Hmm.
in me to have words and content.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I'm so ignited to do what I do because I've lived through it. And I'm sure, do you want me to share my story? Because I think
I would
seeing
love for
my
you to.
story.
I mean, if you'd like to, if you don't mind, I'd love it.
So my story is one where, like we mentioned before, I was actually in Iraq. I served in Iraq in 2004. And of course, in a war zone. I was in the war zone one day, and a week later, I was back in Camp Pendleton in California. So I was in war zone, bullets flying over. Fallujah was not too far from where I was
Wow.
actually stationed.
Mm.
Before you know it, I was back in California. And before you know it, I was back home. So there was no transition. So unbeknownst to me, I had PTSD. Unbeknownst to my family, I was actually going through a daily crisis. Unbeknownst to the world, as a clinician, I was actually smiling on the outside. When
Mm.
I get to my car, I was actually crying. When I get home, I was in a state of depression, but no one knew this. So I remember one day coming home and I just went in the bathroom and I just did my routine. I just washed the makeup off my face and just routine care. But when I looked at myself, I didn't recognize the person that was staring back at me. It was a skeleton of the woman I used to be. And in that moment, I asked my question, like, Natalie, how did you get here? You're a strong military woman. You are a professional woman. You're a therapist. How do you get to this point in your life where you're so broken? And then in that moment, it was a mirage of my life.
Mm.
I saw the toxic relationships. I saw my lost identity. I saw the grief from my miscarriages. I saw grief where I was actually in the hospital. There were so many images I saw, but emotionally, I couldn't handle the plethora of emotions. And I shut it down, not knowing that 6 months later, I was going to be in a hospital fighting for my life.
Wow.
And when I walked into the hospital, I couldn't even walk. I couldn't move. I couldn't function. And I was like 34. I was a young woman, a mom. My daughter was like maybe 1 or 2 years old. And when they're checking me out and the neurologist said, touch your nose, and I couldn't because my right side of my body wasn't working. That scared the life out of me. What was going to be my life? I'm young, a new mom. So in that moment, I realized that somebody prayed for me and I was miraculously healed. And when they did all the scans, all the tests, everything came back normal. I was fine. But I asked myself the question, why me? Why was I spared? Why is it that I've gone through such a traumatic event, such a life-changing event, but I'm healed, I'm restored, I could function, I could speak, I could walk. Why me? And that is where I was ignited into purpose. I was ignited into making a difference. Why me? Why me? So my quest started where I went on a journey of just doing research and looking at every field just to find the antidote for mental and emotional stress. Because like I say, I'm a clinician. I know meditation, I know these routine things to do, but for some reason, something in my life wasn't working, despite knowing those techniques I teach my patients.
I relate to that, yes.
And that is when I went on a quest, and when I did my research, looking at every field, I realized that, that the cure for mental and emotional state of depression and all of that, it lies in your purpose. When your thoughts are no longer ruminating constantly and you live in your head with your negative emotions and the hurt from the past and what they did and everything hurts. You live in your head. So emotionally, your thoughts, physiologically, your entire system, your DNA changes because of your emotional state of being.
That's fascinating.
But what if you no longer internalize your pain, your problem, but you see the bigger picture of your life? You start dreaming again. You see your future. You now have something to look forward to and no longer be stuck on your past and live in your head. And I realized that the true way to solve the mental health crisis we're living is for people to really find out what their purpose is. Why are they here? Why are they here? We're all called to do something at this appointed time.
You know, that's so fascinating, Natalie, because it's just like I had this aha moment that part of what I hear you saying is that if we want to think of our purpose as being that thing that we focus in on that drives us, well, when you're having these sorts of mental health problems like you are, that becomes your purpose in a sense. And so you are literally focused on your problems, right?
Oh my goodness. You
And
got
so
it. Yes.
you're saying take this out of your head and create that purpose. And now your focus becomes out there, something greater than you.
Yes.
Wow.
Wow. And that's an amazing, because like I said, I looked at every motivational speakers. I looked at every area. That's why my book is so big, because it's research. And I found out that it's not all research. I took all the lessons from it where like at the end of the day, Band-Aid's method, just put in a little Band-Aid, a little meditation here and there. It's good.
Yeah, it's not like that harms you, but yeah.
What's the bigger scheme? Why are you
Right.
here? What problem are you here to solve in this world? You're here for a reason. You weren't born 200 years ago. You were born at this appointed time for a reason. And someone else's, to answer part of your other question, someone else's life is contingent on me living in my purpose.
Oh my goodness gracious.
If I want to stay stuck and live in my head, in my state of problems, someone else's life out there won't be hearing my voice. Someone won't be able to hear the words coming out of my mouth. Me not being able to show empathy and care and use my gifts to touch someone's life is at stake. So when I realized that, you know what? This is my appointed time and I'm here to shine and to be and to make an impact. I just live in my gifting, and it's easy to reframe my past and
Live in my
use it as lessons to impact the world as I am doing right now.
Wow, that is just striking what you just let our audience hear. Let me ask you this, Natalie. I kind of want to ask it broadly, but I think it would be easier or better if I just pointed to the scenario that you were in, and that is that, what happens to why do people end up with PTSD, and what happens in their head? What drives that?
Um, as a person with PTSD, I'm so willing to be very open and to be very vulnerable.
Mm,
When we have PTSD, is that there's something traumatic that happens, and because something traumatic happens, is that we may be stuck in that moment. When
mm.
you're stuck in that moment, it's like you're freeze. We know that the stress responses is either flight or freeze. Flight, freeze,
Fight or flight,
fight or
freeze, and all
flight,
that.
and then
Yeah,
there's
yeah, yeah.
freeze, and
And
there's
freeze.
freeze.
Wow.
So when you're frozen, I'm using the word frozen here loosely, you're stuck in that moment. And when you're stuck in that moment, it's like you can't move forward. No matter what you try to do, you can't move forward.
Wow.
And the crazy thing is that the images from that moment, the sounds, all your senses are activated because of that traumatic event. And whenever you may hear a sound, it triggers that moment, it brings that memory back. Something else happens. You're in that constant state of being in trauma because you're stuck in that moment. To live in that moment every day, the memories are constantly in your head. Your body's physiologically experiencing the whole thing again. When you talk about it, it
Wow.
re-triggers you constantly. And that is
Wow.
why, based on my approach, I do believe in healing and I also believe in empowerment. Because sometimes we really need to go and unfreeze you from that moment to unstuck you. It's kind of needed. A lot of people need
Yeah.
to be unstuck. A lot of people
Yeah.
cannot handle going back to that traumatic event. And everyone is a different approach. But when you have that, you could change the image from the past to your future dreams and your vision. Meaning that instead of you thinking about the image from that event, replace it. My vision, the dream for my life is that I'm going to be on a stage speaking. And I have that vision board with that dream. I have a vision board for my finances, I have a vision for my relationship, I have a vision of every area of my life. I'm no longer thinking about that traumatic event, but I'm thinking about the vision for my life in every area.
That's
And
crazy,
over
man.
time, the traumatic views may lessen and the vision becomes a part of your DNA, becomes a part of who you are in the present moment.
Now, this makes so much sense because when we combine the notion of neuroplasties
Yes,
in that, when you're as you are so beautifully explaining this, when you can reshift your thoughts to a purpose, to another
yes,
focus, that over time it
yes,
creates new
yes,
neural pathways
yes,
that then I guess you could say you somewhat just said it, diminish those other pathways. They become less
yes,
noticeable, I guess.
yes. And I'm going to be honest about it. um, Initially, when you're trying to reframe your mind is going to reject all of it because the pattern
Okay.
has been set in motion for such a long time. And there's so many
Wow.
pathways. It's so hardened. The neural pathway is so set in stone. And
Yeah.
now you try to introduce a new pathway,
Yeah.
the brain is going to reject it. Your subconscious mind is going to say, no, that's not true.
Very
No, you're not
interesting.
an amazing woman. Oh, no, you're not. It's going to negate it for a time. But the key thing is that I talk about is purposizing. When you immerse yourself in a high frequency of being in alignment with your purpose, that means emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, you're so in tune with your purpose and your vision for your life, the pathway over time is going to be created towards
Oh,
that.
wow.
You'll start feeling that in the present moment. It becomes a part of who you are now. But like I said, I think Dr. Carlin Leaf, she's one of my absolute favorites. She helped me when I needed help the most. I think it takes 21 days for like a neural pathway to be created.
Okay.
And some people based on your trauma may take multiples of the 21-day cycle that she talked about in her book. So it takes time, but you got to stay committed.
Oh, that's very, very interesting. So I want to shift ever so slightly here and eventually, get really back to your book and some ideas that will help people move on. But Natalie, if we broaden this idea, because I think your book also, um, puts a little bit of focus on women as well, right?
Yes, I talk about women. The book is for everyone, but because
Yes.
I wanted to appeal to women more, it says women, but in
Yeah,
essence, it's for everyone.
absolutely. And we know that you can that that you may be looking a certain way, but the principles apply, the tools apply
Yes.
across the board. So what would you then say, is sort of the I guess you could say the um the average uh person outside of PTSD that might fall into this circumstance where they need the purposizing, where
Mm.
they need to become unstuck and these sorts of things.
I mean, it's for everyone. One thing I want to say about this book is that the book is a life manual.
Yes.
And
It's a
it's a
workbook.
manual. Yes, thank you. It's a manual where I was getting excited when I was working the book because there's so many dimensions. You asked me who I am, who is Natalie Spellman? And there's so many dimensions to me where in this moment I could be a drill instructor. In
Mm,
this moment I could be Coach Nat. In
mm,
this moment I could be the sweet, calm therapist who's going to sit and listen to you all day and just be the wonderful therapist who's just going to sit and listen and show empathy. But
mm.
I'm also a hardcore Marine where that's a part of who I am. And I'm
That's an important
also
piece. Yeah.
an inspirational speaker, transformational
Yeah.
speaker. There's so many dimensions to who I am. So what I did in the book, I created elements of myself where you see the inspiration and you see the different aspects. So in this book, you can actually look at it like, okay, I need advice on how to deal with a person who's a pain in my life right now, and I can actually
Mm,
give you guidance. If you need some
mm,
inspiration, it's right there. If you need to know how to go in a high frequency state, I explain that to you. So
mm.
whatever you're looking for in your life, there's a content easily ready, available. And one thing I said to one person before, this book could be used for small group settings. Let's say in a church setting, let's say in a women's group or men's group.
Oh, very
It's
nice.
such a therapeutic experience because the colors are therapeutic. It's purple with blue or shades of green. So no matter what you are, the book gives you a comprehensive experience where you feel like you're in a therapy session, where you feel like you are inspired, you feel down, and I'm going to pick you up. It's a whole transformational experience. So it's one where a college could be turned into an online program. So it's so rich and
Very interesting.
so needed, so therapeutic
And
that
action
anyone,
oriented, right? It's action oriented. It's not
it's
just theory, but
very
giving you
action oriented.
tools and ideas to actually work through
Yes,
some of these
yes. Because
stressors.
I did all the research. I
Mm.
pulled from every sector. And based on what I have learned through 3 years of research, I took all the best advice from the world, put it in here, and then create my
Wow,
own content behind it.
that's incredible.
So
Natalie,
rich.
what are some I just want to explore just a little bit more about some of these ideas of stress and so forth. What are some maybe common misconceptions about stress?
Love that question. Stress in itself is not a bad thing. It's not. That's just the
Uh,
reality. Sometimes we need to be stretched a little bit. When you
uh,
think about a rubber band, right? You got to
mhm.
stretch it a little bit. Is it going to pop if you stretch it? Not necessarily. Another analogy, you go to the gym and you're working out for the very first time. It's uncomfortable. It's not what you want, but
Mm.
over time, your body get accustomed to this where you're being stretched. And sometimes when you're being stretch, maybe it's a requirement for us to switch and to do things differently.
Very interesting.
If I'm working at my job and I'm always stressed out, self-awareness needs to be checked. So step back, look at yourself here. What am I doing wrong? Am
Mm.
I burning myself out? Why am I burning myself out? What can I do differently? So when you step back and have this level of awareness, you will recognize that you're being stretched, but in the wrong direction.
Oh
You need to
my.
rein that back in and try to be stretch in the right direction. Maybe then you may want to reframe and like, I may want to do some self-care. Not only self-care in terms of beautifying yourself, mental. emotional, spiritual, and physical well-being. So stress in itself is not bad. However, if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over, and you have a negative outcome and
Wow.
becomes chronic, you're creating a bigger cycle of problems that's going to have a lot of toll on your body
You're
physiologically. So you got to
digging
switch
those
that.
digging those neural pathway
Yes,
grooves deeper and deeper, right? To make
deeper.
it harder to get out.
Yes.
So you talk a lot about I know in your book and other areas that I've kind of researched, you talk about overthinking stress. What do you mean by that? And and what can individuals do to, because I'll be quite honest with you, I've learned over the years because of my work, and I've done a lot of the work that you talked about. So I know how to manage it and cope most of the times, but I am absolutely a ruminator. I mean,
We all are.
are we? Well, that's good. That's good to know. But yeah. So what is overthinking stress, and then how can you
Alrighty.
help people?
So the way you start your day is so, so important. We have a tendency as a society is that the first thing we do in the morning is that we check our phones. That means you're starting the
Mm,
day with bad news. So you
mm.
already set the tone for the day to be in a negative frame of mind,
Interesting. Yeah.
right? So we need to change our morning routine, which I'm going to talk to you shortly of how to do that. We started the on the wrong negative. I talk about it here, a low vibe frequency. So when you have a
Mm.
low vibe frequency, you go into your day, your cup is empty because you never had time to fill your cup. So your cup is empty, you're angry, you're frustrated. You go through the day, someone upsets you, you have the anger building up, you just feel yucky. You go through the course of the day, the problems from work comes into play. You have no tools in your toolbox to handle anything because you already started the day on the wrong tone. And then during the course of
Oh.
the day, the tone is all bad. But what if you change the approach and you start your day by filling your cup first? Because you
Oh
cannot
my.
serve from an empty cup.
Mm.
What if you start your day instead of you looking at your phone? Use that time to be in a state of
Mm.
positivity. How can you get in a state of positivity? For different people, it may look different. For me, it starts my day with positivity. I like to get up in the morning and I go for walks. And it's early and I'm just enjoying the scenery because I'm taking in the oxygen from the environment. I'm breathing in, I'm feeling the whole positivity. The environment is so calm. I can hear it's just bringing in calmness into my sense of being.
Mm.
When I get back from my walk, I'm actually doing inspirational content. For me, I pray. So I'm listening to inspirational content. I'm hearing something motivational. I'm hearing beautiful messages. I spend time praying. I meditate. So when I leave my house in the morning, my cup is full. So if you come to me with your bad attitude, I'm like, okay, because my cup is full, I can handle that. I'm serving the world from my overflow, not from my empty cup.
Oh.
So no matter what challenges at work, I can handle that. Then on my lunch break, I go for a walk. I go in my garden, I work and I walk. I may go sit in the chopper sometimes. It's like I'm constantly immersing myself in a state of positivity. And when I get home at night, I don't go to bed with my phone and no. I have a time where I journal. What's all the unfinished tasks for the day, and I'm writing things down. Because if you leave the thoughts in your mind, it's going to ruminate.
Hmm.
Dump it off to your brain and put it on paper.
Mm.
Okay? These are the things that I didn't do well today. Okay, what's the strategy to make those things better? What's my plan for the next day? So when you dump everything from your mind on paper, you have nothing to be ruminating all night on
Yeah, you're
because
not.
you emptied
Yeah,
everything out.
yeah. It's not just all flying around, and then you get up in the morning and go say, "What was that stuff?" And now you're
Uh-uh,
trying to pick it out of your mind.
uh-uh. It's
Yeah.
empty. And what I love to do on my phone, I'm always
Mm.
writing notes. Whenever there's a thought in
Hmm.
my head ruminating, Natalie, dump it on write in your notes, dump it on your head because it's going to be on my mind. So I'm constantly dumping things from my head on paper or on
Yeah.
my phone app. So,
That's powerful. That statement that you said, you cannot serve from an empty cup.
yeah.
That's so powerful from two angles, in at least two angles. One is just the notion of the statement itself that you cannot serve from an empty cup, but it also brings forth a bit of an assumption, if you want to say it that way, and I would say a good assumption that your intention is to go out and serve.
Yes.
And we know, right, that
The
serving
purpose.
has purpose. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Funny thing, you may be feeling depressed, but if you smile at somebody else,
Mm,
if you decide to do an act of kindness,
mm.
if you decide just to laugh or do something else, it changes your mood. You can't stay depressed when you're immersing yourself in doing something positive. You can't.
Amazing.
And it's amazing how we could change our mental state. For example, I may feel down right now and I just get up and just start jumping, just jumping, jumping, jumping. I start thinking about, you know what, Natalie, you're good. Your life's going to be impactful. And I'm just here jumping and I'm exercising. I'm enjoying, increasing my vibrational energy. I'm increasing the circulation in my body. And before you know it, my mood changes.
Interesting. You
That's
know,
purposizing,
no, I
changing your
love
state
that.
of
I'm going
being.
to ask you more about this purposizing in a second, but you also reminding me of this idea, and Tony Robbins speaks about this
Uh-huh.
changing your state of emotion. But I
Yes.
remember a long time ago, somebody said, when you answer, like if you or in any sort of a customer service role, or really any role, I guess you could say that if you answer the phone and smile first, it's very
Mm,
difficult to come with negative energy and smile at the same time. And
mm.
so it's what I'm hearing part of you saying is that you're changing this activity and bringing in energy. And to me, it would be pretty hard to put on some really good funky music and dance and be depressed at the same
You
time. I just
can't.
don't know how you can
You
do it,
can't.
you know?
You can't.
Natalie, what would you say, what are maybe some common challenges that people face, when it comes to achieving personal fulfillment? What's a
Ah,
challenge or two that might come
I
into
love
play?
this question because it is the story. It has always been the story of my life. And
Mm,
it's one that's so dear to my heart. And that is why I'm so much on purpose because my mission
mm,
in life is to go back and help these same people you're talking about. And the reality is that we're stuck in our past.
mm,
We wake up every morning stuck in our past.
mm,
We're stuck because of what someone did to us maybe 30 years ago or just the night before. And we're experiencing the hurt, the anger, the resentment, all of that from the past. A second ago is the past.
mm.
And we're living in a state of being where we're constantly stuck back there. We're back there. And because we're stuck back here, we're not even being present. When
Mm.
we're not present, you're missing the beauty around you. You're missing the essence. You're missing the people you need to make an impact to.
Yeah,
You're missing out on life because you're stuck in the past.
yeah,
And the past belongs in the past. What lessons did you learn
yeah,
from the past you could bring in your present moment and truly live
yeah.
and tap into that inner potential that you're meant to shine in the world with? And my message is this, is that I want to tell people that you need to arise, you need to shine, you need to be the person you're meant to be, because only
Mm.
you could be the light for that person who needs your light. Because we
Oh,
are all here to solve a problem. We are all here for this appointed time to make an impact. And
mm.
your action impacts someone else's life. It's not you just living life in isolation. Human beings, we're not meant to be alone. We're not meant to be isolated. When you make an impact, it brings that fulfillment. It brings you in purpose. It brings you to that destination, to your finish line, where at the end of the road, you could say that I truly live. I lived a life with meaning. I lived a life with impact. I lived a life that touched the lives of many. And in doing so,
It's
I have
incredible.
peace and I have fulfillment because it's a life well lived.
Yeah. And purpose does not live in the past. Purpose
It
is
doesn't.
is in the present and moving forward.
Exactly.
Everything that you say comes back to what you said right at the beginning that,
Yes.
it's about
Yes.
purpose.
Yes. It
So,
is.
so let's talk about purposizing. I think that's a fascinating, intriguing term. So tell our audience what is purposizing. I mean, you've kind of already talked a little bit about it, but just kind of take us back through the fundamentals and explain it just a little bit here.
So when I was doing my research, I just didn't have a word to put to things. And I thought about the word purpose. I'm like, the cure is purpose. The cure is purpose. But what else? then the word exercise comes to mind.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
purpose and the word exercise. So you put it together, purposizing.
I love
And
it.
what it is just to immerse yourself in a state of positivity. And that positivity is through some form of movement, some form of action. It could be with you exercise. It could be through music. To me, music is the biggest one. That's the quickest way to change your emotional state. Through music, through inspirational content, whatever it takes to immerse you in a state of positivity where it elevates your mood, then you're in alignment to whatever your intention is. It could be your intention towards your purpose. It could be your intention towards the vision. It could be your intention towards what you have to do for that day or in that moment. But you're putting yourself in that immersive state to be present and to really shine and be. So
Those are amazing words. You know, I would like to ask you if there is something, something in the book that, maybe whether it's advice that you're giving or something that you would say that might surprise people, you
all
know?
right, this is weird, Kevin. I just randomly opened my book in front of me. And this is what the page, because I do a lot of inspirational in each end of the book. So when I open my book at right now, it says, the hardship in your life awakens your strength and power. Use them as a catalyst for your greatness.
Oh my goodness.
This is meant for somebody. So if you're hearing the sound of my voice, please use the pain and the challenges in your life to awaken your greatness. Awaken your greatness, because guess what? It could be catalysts for where you need to go. Sometimes we're so comfortable, Kevin.
Yeah.
And we need to be awakened up and just
Yeah.
be.
So how does that happen, Natalie? Is it purely a decision that you decide, I had this really tough life, or I really had this tough thing that I went through, and now I'm going to take that and turn it into some form of purpose? Or is it a process that you have to work through? I guess this is part of what purposizing is, right?
You know what, though? There's so many different ways and what I realize with human beings, we're all motivated and inspired for change differently. For me, it could be a life-threatening experience. Some people could have gone through the same experience and they're angry with God and they're upset. We all are different people. But I think the foundational step is that level of awareness. You got to be aware that what I'm doing right now is not working out. I want better for my life. Me just being depressed, how is that benefiting my life? How is that benefiting anybody else? How is that affecting my family?
Yeah. And am I just going to live in it? Is that it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just there, so live with it.
You're going to be miserable for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
Then that means you're not truly living. You are living in misery. Can you really live in misery for the rest of your life? Don't you want to feel that joy and that happiness and that peace that overflows in your heart, and every day is exciting? You want to get up and you want to go out and make an impact. When you have that power within you, you become unstoppable. Become unstoppable.
So let's drill this down to another step. So then step one, if you will, is to raise your self-awareness. Become aware of these things that are going on in your head. So what can a person do to raise their self-awareness? Where would they start? Because there are people, I'm going to say like you, who, it seems to me in this short period of time that I've got to know you, you have throughout your life had a level of self-awareness, and you've brought that into your present, and might even submit to you, Natalie, that this spirit that you have, this whatever, is what caused this washing of your face and then going, wow, who are you? You see, I mean, you can't do that without some level of self-awareness to ask, who are you? So, but there's others who are not like that. They don't have that level of sensitivity. What do they do to become more self-aware?
Great question, because I know a lot of people who, despite you introducing the concept of self-awareness, they're just not there yet because they're too stuck. And you know what? When you have a desire for change, a fire is ignited within you. Where you're going to seek knowledge. You're going to seek the wisdom of people who have been there. right now we're in an era where technology and social media and YouTube has so much information. So if I feel depressed, I can always go online to say, how do I stop feeling depressed?
Love that,
So if you
man.
have this desire for change, you will seek knowledge, you will seek wisdom. If you're not ready, I could preach to you all day, I could motivate you, I could inspire you all day. If you're not ready for that, you're not ready. So for some people, you could be seeking out, you could hear the sound of my voice, and it may touch a chord in your heart, and that may inspire you. But at the end of the day, sometimes it may take a conversation with a coach, which I tend to coach and I help people to get unstuck. Sometimes it's amazing how a lot of people don't think they need coaching. A lot of people may
Right.
not think they need help. But when you sit down with a coach who is trained in NLPs and different techniques, you'll be amazed in just using the art of questioning. You become aware of something that has been
Wow.
holding you back. You become aware of your self-limiting beliefs, those
Wow.
sabotaging behaviors. A lot of things are in your subconscious mind that's driving the engine of your life. And sometimes when you have an expert guiding you through the process, the awareness kicks in and you're like, oh my goodness, how come I didn't see that
Yeah,
before?
that's powerful because that's what coaches do, right? Is they ask questions and in part they draw out your self-awareness. I mean, to simply
Yes,
sit with
yes.
somebody and say, I have a question for you. And that
Mm,
is, you know, who is Natalie?
mm,
You see, it immediately provokes this thinking and this
precisely.
this this self-awareness. Wow, that's fascinating. So let's talk a little bit about your book, which is again, I've just started sort of diving into some aspects of it, but it's drop your stress like a hot potato. I love that. And it says transformative, it's a workbook,
Yes.
for life coaching for busy women, but as you said, and I completely agree, the principles, the tools, they cross all boundaries, if you will.
Yes.
So tell us about, drop stress like a hot potato. I love that.
Alrighty. So let me first break the name down. So I'm using the word drop, meaning that it's time to let
Let
go.
it
Time
go.
to release it, just let go. And if you look at my book cover, it's so funny. Where you see the woman in her car, she's driving out into the future. She's heading towards purpose. She's heading towards all of that things in the future.
Oh
And what
my.
she's throwing behind her are the hot potatoes. If you look at the emojis of the hot potato, you see a depressed face, you see an anger face, and she's throwing those out. And in the distance, she's leaving behind all the other crazy stuff. So she's dropping her emotional stress, the anger, the resentment, the hatred, anything from her past that's holding her back, she's dropping it. Not her, all
Wow.
of us. We need to drop those hot things that's preventing us from truly living. Drop it, let it go, release it, leave it in the past, and drive to your finish
Wow.
line. Drive to your destination, drive to your destiny. And at the end of your destiny is fulfillment of purpose, legacy, and impact. So it's crucial with that book title to make a difference in the world. And when I did in my workbook here, I show you exactly how to do all of that. How you get in alignment with your spirit, get alignment with your emotional state. Everything is about every strategy need to learn how to navigate life, how to increase your vibrational state, your identity. This is one thing I want to talk about. I create this whole thing about your narrative functional identity.
Say that
And
one more time.
it's called narrative functional
Functional.
identity.
Wow.
What that means is that it's composed of three different layers: your past, your present, and your future.
Mm,
Your past dictates how you live your present and affects your future.
mm.
And the sad reality, like I indicated before, a lot of us are stuck in the past. So what I've done is that we know that the emotional state of being, your thoughts, it affects your behavior. And I took it to a whole nother level. How does it affect your function in your relationship?
Oh, yes.
How does it affect your function in relation to yourself? How does it affect your function regarding the way you show up at your work? How does it affect your finances, your leisure, the way you live your life? How
Mm,
are you truly functioning in your life? And as
mm.
an occupational therapist, I help people to function in life. And the reality is that a lot of us aren't truly functioning. We're barely existing. So with that is that I talk about how to fix your identity, how to make it better, how to create a strong foundation. When the foundation is strong, you're able to build your confidence, you're able to build your self-aware. It builds on top of it, but you need a strong foundation before you could truly build your identity.
My goodness. And so this is then where, as you talk about, that you are the greatness activator,
Yes,
and
sir.
that to achieve greatness, it's probably, I would imagine for you when you got out, when you were at Pendleton and you had PTSD and suddenly your life was not, you didn't feel like you were in control.
Mm.
It was probably, well, you didn't explain it that way. And I don't imagine it's for anybody that you're going to simply wake up one day from all of that trauma or the baggage, if you
Ah,
will, and simply go from there to greatness, that it
no,
becomes this journey, right?
it's a journey. It's a
So you're talking about the
transformative journey.
greatness activator. So activating that process of moving towards greatness, correct?
Yes,
Whatever greatness is to,
yes. There's a starting point. You may be starting
yeah,
right here,
I
or
see.
starting points are different. But at the end of the day, where's your destination? Is your destination frustration and just depression? Or is your journey one where you're going to go on a path for fulfillment? It could be curvy. There could be bumps in the road, but you have to have the tool sets how to navigate when problems come along. And
Very, very interesting.
it's all in the book.
When it comes to this notion of finding your purpose,
Yes.
of creating your greatness, whatever it is that you want to call it, would you recommend that, that people maybe not get too caught up on so far in the future as
Mm,
to what greatness is, as opposed
mm,
to, recognize, and I think there's a old ancient Chinese statement, something about the journey of 1,000 steps starts with the first one or something like this.
yeah.
And that you can be patient with yourself,
Yes. Yes.
and that as you continue to move towards your purpose or towards what you might call your greatness, um, you start to gain energy and momentum,
Yes.
but you don't start with tomorrow I'm going to wake up and be
No,
all
no,
of
that's
that.
not really, you're gonna fail if that's the case. That's the case. Um, the way I love it is the hero's journey.
Oh,
It's the hero's
yes.
journey.
Mm-hmm.
We start off unaware that there's something within us.
Mm,
And having that awareness, like, you know what, there's more to my life than what I'm seeing right now. There's more to me. And with the hero's journey, notice that there were challenges that were set in motion to establish and to strengthen and to build. And there's always a guide. There's always a guide with the mentor, with the person, the hero.
mm-hmm.
You need a guidance, somebody to like, okay, take this step, go this in this direction. And as a greatest activator, that's my expertise. So you need somebody to guide you, but you remember it's a hero's journey where there's going to be a problem. And sometimes your painful moments, your struggles are igniting you to give you the skill sets you need for the next leg of the journey.
Mm.
And when you get to the next leg, they're going to be challenges, but each challenge is building on each other to truly activate the power within yourself. And I said to my friend the other day, I'm here doing all these different tasks. I was like, I had no idea I'm able to do all these things. But because something happens, you're able to actually build on those skill sets. So,
Wow.
and another layer I want to add is that a dream keep you alive.
Say that one more time.
A dream keep you
Mm,
alive.
mm,
When you stop dreaming and you don't have a vision, you're roaming through life aimlessly. And you feel your vision with every cell in your body. And you start in the moment like, you know what? I am beautiful. I'm
mm,
strong.
mm,
I
mm,
want to make
mm,
an
mm.
impact. I want to speak on stages. And you start feeling now, things flow into what it's supposed to be without you trying so hard.
Oh my
You're going to
goodness.
start being, and that vision is just a reminder that there's greatness in me. Not looking at it as greatness where I'm going to be great, great, great. That's subjective to everybody else. But when you have a glimpse of what you're supposed to do in your life, it brings a certain level of peace and joy and certainty about why you're here.
Oh, wow.
So live your dream in the present and you see the outcome in the future without you really trying hard.
That's so incredible. And all of this, before I ask you about where everybody can find you and your information and your book, but the bottom line is, you know, the place to start is, in fact, raising your self-awareness, coming
Yes.
to ask yourself questions, using a coach, whatever it is, to generate these questions so that you can get all of this out of your head
Yes.
and maybe see it in front of you, and even asking simple questions like, who are you? What is your purpose?
Yes.
All this stuff that has been pain, how can you bring this into the present, as a teacher, as a tool
Yes.
that you can give to others, which you are so brilliantly doing with not only your spoken words, but also your written words, Natalie.
Yes.
It's so impressive and really beautiful to hear you speak like a true teacher who has learned from her past. So, Natalie, where can we find your books and your where people can make contact with you? All of that, please share.
All righty. I love to share. Before I share, I just want to add one thing.
Please.
It's that there's a formula for life.
Mm.
There's an unwritten formula for success. There's an unwritten formula for clarity and direction, which I do talk about in my book. And I love the way you emphasize who you are. There's a formula where you could live life in purpose, in alignment, when you know who you are, why you're here, what you're supposed to do, how to do it, when to do it, and that determines your where, your destination.
Wow.
And that's where I'm an expert in, where I teach that and I help you to get it unstuck and help you to transform your life. I help with so many different things. But if you need to find me, I'm here to serve. And you can reach out to me on my website. It is www.nataliespellman.com.
Just like it sounds, Spellman. Yeah.
NatalieSpellman.com. I'm on social media as Natalie Shan Spellman. I'm on Instagram. I have a YouTube channel. So I am present. I'm here to serve and I'm ignited to my own purpose. And it would be a true honor if you could allow me to help you. So you know where to find me. And my email address, let me give you my email address.
Please.
It is NatalieSpellman77@gmail.com.
That's fantastic. And all of that will be in the show notes. But I just love to hear personally from my guests to invite people to come visit you and to see you and to connect with you. And your book is on Amazon.
Yes, it's on Amazon. Drop Stress Like a Hot Potato.
Yes.
There's a certain attitude that goes with that. Drop stress like a hot potato, because you're really dropping things and you're just getting bold and you're stepping into your future. So it's drop stress like a hot potato.
Natalie Spellman, your energy, your good spirit, the love that you just comes, I'm a musician, and and I've done some recording sessions, and I learned a long time ago that you can literally put your energy onto the tape. People can listen to it and feel the energy that you have there. And that's what's happening here today in this podcast. Is your energy is just like blasting through through the screen here. And I'm so grateful for you taking the time to be on Grow Yourself. And I hope we can do this again.
Thank you so much. It was an honor being here with you, Kevin, and just to serve your audience. So I hope what I said today was able to help someone else who needs some help right now.
100%. Thank you very much.